This is the video analysis of the oral reading recording of my first subject who is in grade 4.
The naughty boy. John is the naughty boy.
The reader replaced a with the.
He refused to follow his parent command.
She replaced the word he with his and omitted s from the word refuses. Instead of saying parents, she only said parent.
He is fond of wasting water and electricity.
The reader repeated the pronoun he thrice.
He often cut and pull out the plants and throw garbage wherever he goes.
The first syllable of the word wherever was repeated by the reader twice.
Although Aling Edna, John's mother, always reminded
The word although seemed unfamiliar to the reader because she mispronounced it as alt-op, which is an invented word by the reader.
him to be a good boy. He still not avoid doing bad things.
She omitted could from the sentence.
One day John found in a every dirty and place.
The reader committed another omission by not reading the words himself and smelly, while replacing very with every.
He felt irritated
The reader mispronounced the word irritated by saying irritated instead.
and could not take the dirt around him.
She mispronounced could as cold.
He continued walking
In the following sentence, the reader omitted the from the word continued and attempted to correct herself with the word walking twice, but to no success.
until he came to a very hot place. He looking for a tree to rest, but was no tree in his sight.
Instead of looked, the reader said looking, and then inserted the phrase is one.
Nothing he found but sand,
She mispronounced nothing as nothing and sand as sad.
because of the distance. He walked. He suddenly felt tired and thirsty.
In this sentence, the reader repeated the phrase he walked twice, but did not consider the D sound at the end of the word, making her say walk instead while inserting the syllable sud.
He looked for water, but he could find no water.
She said look instead of looked, and again cold instead of could.
He cried and cried
The reader repeated and twice and continued reading.
because of the extreme thirst and heat he felt. He shouted for help, but no one seemed to hear him.
Instead of help, she said help.
Get out, get me out of here, help.
In this sentence, the reader repeated get and inserted the word out after.
I don't want to be here anymore, shouted John, while crying all of a sudden.
The reader attempted to correct herself with the word sudden twice, which was successful.
He heard familiar voice.
Instead of saying heard, she said heard. She omitted a and repeated the syllable fa in familiar twice. She also mispronounced voice as voice.
John, call, called Aling Edna.
The reader attempted to correct herself with the word called thrice, which was successful.
While tapping him, John is awakened.
The reader mispronounced awakened as awakened, an invented word by the reader, which made it evident that the term was unfamiliar to her.
By his mother, Cordelising just a dream.
The same thing happened to the word realizing. Instead, she said realizing and omitted it from the sentence.
He hugged his mother and said
Instead of saying hugged, she said hug and shed instead of said.
he will follow
The reader mispronounced follow as palo.
what his mother always telling him. After what had happened, John realized the importance
She omitted the from realized and attempted to correct herself with the word importance, which was successful.
of the things around him.
In the next sentence, she repeated the phrase of the twice.
He promised not to do the bad habits
In this last sentence, the reader omitted s from the word promises. Then she said habits instead of habits.
that he used to do.
Lastly, the reader omitted is from the sentence.